I don't remember how I found this game, Slay the Spire, but I definitely remember the devastation it brought upon my day-to-day schedule. Every free moment was spent playing. Every opportunity at the office where I could sneak in a game, I took it, and it came out of nowhere. Slay the Spire is not the kind of game many people would expect me to love. For a few reasons. I'm kinda burnt out on the roguelike genre. It's starting to feel more like a crutch these days than the innovative design it used to be. I have never been a fan of turn-based combat either. Not saying it's bad, but it's just not for me, unless I'm playing a board game or something. And I don't know anything about card-based games. I mean, I played Uno. I'm pretty good at losing money at poker. I've never even seen a Magic the Gathering card or a Pokemon card. I used to collect X-Men cards when I was a kid. Is that somehow relevant? No. You start as a character called the Ironclad, setting forth on your adventure across 3 peril-filled and opportunity-filled maps, each guarded by a boss battle. Through the different paths, you'll find battles against common enemy types, elite battles that grant special rewards, treasure chests, mystery encounters, resting areas for healing or upgrades, and shops to spend gold. But before we get into all that, let's just look at how the game is played. Walking into the first fight, we see our character on the left and the enemy on the right. You get to make the first move, and you can choose between 5 different cards which are drawn from your deck of 10. Each card has a point value, and they consume your energy pool displayed on the left side. You'll see that if I use 1 strike card, it drops the energy to 2. While deciding whether to strike or defend, you'll want to be mindful of your enemy's intentions. Something that sets Slay the Spire apart from other turn-based games is that it provides you with more information. You don't have to guess whether an attack is incoming or not. It says it right there. If an enemy is going to buff themselves or debuff you, you know it's coming. You can do what you need to mitigate damage and play smart offense. The Jawworm is going to hit us for 11 points, and we don't have enough defense cards to block all that. However, our character the Ironclad carries a special relic that heals him by 6 HP at the end of each fight. If we block 5 of the 11 damage, we can heal another 6. As long as we don't take any additional damage in this fight, we'll make it out with full health. He decides not to attack on the next turn, and instead charges a block and a buff for the next turn after this, leaving him wide open. But we only drew 2 strike cards, leaving us with 1 unused energy point that gets wasted this turn because there's no need to block. All of our cards have been discarded or used, so they get reshuffled back into our deck and we draw another 5. We're looking at 14 damage points coming our way with the ability to block only 10, and if we use a strike card, it's only going to take away his shield. So we have a decision to make. Do we block as much as we can, or do we block 5 and hit him with our Bash card? Now, Bash is very interesting and crucial to the early game. It costs 2 energy and only does 8 damage, making it seem weak, but it applies 2 turns of Vulnerable, and when an opponent is vulnerable, they receive 50% more damage from all attacks. 6-point strike cards become 9, so let's hit him with Bash, which should set him up for an easy kill in the next round. The Jawworm has fallen, and it's time to claim our rewards. 16 gold, which goes to our total at the top, and the option of adding a new card. I'm looking for a little more early game hitting power, so I pick Flex, which gives me +2 damage to all attacks for 1 turn. It's also a 0 energy cost card, which is nice since we don't have a lot of energy to work with. Fight number 2 puts us up against 2 louses that curl up into an armored blocking state after the first time they're hit. I'm gonna hit both of them to get that state out of the way, and then block for 5. I take 6 damage from the exchange, but I should be able to avoid any more damage. Here's that Flex card. We play it, and it allows Bash to kill the attacking louse, leaving only the 1, and we damage him to the brink of death. The symbol above him means he's planning a debuff for the next turn. It applies 2 turns of weak to our character, which makes all attacks do 25% less damage. Strike now does 4, Bash does 6. Having a weak debuff on you can really hurt later in the game. But for now, it doesn't matter. He's so close to death, 1 card will do the job. This fight gives us a potion. It's the Fear Potion, which inflicts 3 turns of vulnerable on an enemy of our choice. Potions can be used at any time during the fight. And we're gonna grab Dropkick, which is a blue rarity card, uncommon. It's only 5 damage points, but it gives us back the energy it uses and it draws a new card for our hand, if used when an opponent is vulnerable. Should work well with our bash card. Fight 3 starts wonderfully, a quick bash to set up the vulnerable state, and a strike card on top doing another 9 damage. And what do you know, here's that new Dropkick card. He's vulnerable, so it's the perfect time to use it. Gotta flex first, always remember to flex, it's free. And since he's vulnerable, he takes 50% more, raising this attack to 10 points. That's pretty chunky. Dropkick returns the spent energy and draws a new card, but we don't have much of anything to work with. So we strike once and block twice to guard against the incoming 6 damage. On the next turn, we draw plenty of attack cards, so the cultist dies easily. Picking the next card, I go with Headbutt, which allows me to place a used or discarded card onto the top of my deck to be used on the next turn. Excellent card, because it's not all about damage and blocking. It's incredibly valuable to be able to move your cards around and have some kind of control over what cards are coming up for the next hand. Something I forgot to mention, which is very important, is that there's little to no RNG to your actions. In other turn-based games, in my experience, you may have the possibility for your attack to miss, or you might get a critical hit. Maybe you should block because you don't know if you're going to get hit or not. That's not how Slay the Spire works. Your attack will land, your block will work against the enemy's attack. Your attacks won't randomly do less damage than you expect them to. People talk about Slay the Spire having quote-unquote perfect information, and this is what they're talking about. You have the information that you need to make the right decision. Entering our first store, there's cards, relics, and potions ready for purchase, as well as the option to remove a card permanently from your deck. One card in particular grabs my attention, Carnage. 20 damage for 2 energy cost. That's more than 3 strike cards. Can't pass that up. And with vulnerable, that's going to be 30 damage. Looking at the map, we're thinking about what direction to go. We want to kill this elite so we can get another relic, and we want to hit this campsite to upgrade our cards. We enter the mystery spot, and speaking of upgrading cards, we take a free card upgrade. We could upgrade Dropkick to do 3 more damage, that's not much. Carnage is very tempting, 20 to 28. But we're gonna upgrade Bash, which raises damage from 8 to 10, but much more importantly adds a 3rd turn of vulnerable onto the enemy. We're gonna be doing a lot of damage going forward. That'll be great because we're facing our first elite enemy, the Gremlin Knob. Carnage is in our hand and we have to use it because it's ethereal. Ethereal means if you don't use it, it disappears for the rest of the fight. We're gonna want this card later, so we use it now, as if there was any reason not to. Pretty strong opening against the Gremlin Knob, and now he's coming at us with 14. He has a special trait that gives him a permanent strength increase every time we play a skill. I'll show you what that looks like. I'll use our flex card, and now he's gone up 2 strength, meaning he's hitting for 16 now. Every time we play a skill, whether it be a block, a flex, or something that draws another card, he's gonna get stronger. As you fight him, you gotta make the decision. Is it better to just attack him, or is it worth it to block his attacks if you're just gonna make him stronger? We use the Headbutt card to call in the Carnage card for the next hand, and we unload the rest of our energy in strikes. No block. Ouch, we got hit hard, and we're about to be hit again. Carnage takes his life down significantly, close to death, but we can't kill. We're gonna bet that the next hand will give us enough attacks to kill him. So for now, we'll block a little bit of this incoming damage, even though it's gonna make him stronger. And there it is, we bet right. A flex card buffs our 2 strikes, and the Gremlin Knob dies, giving us a new relic, Bronze Scales. Relics are permanent upgrades for the rest of the run. With this one, every time we get attacked, we return 3 points of damage to the attacking enemy. There's a new potion, playing the top 3 cards of your deck for free, useful but also a bit risky since you don't know what they'll be. And we're gonna add the Whirlwind card to our deck, hitting every enemy on screen for 5 damage points, an amount of times equal to our energy count. So if we have 3 energy, that would be 3 hits, 15 damage to everyone. Mystery Spot gives us a golden idol, increasing gold yield by 25%, awesome. And look at this, isn't this a weird little fight? This fight can really screw you up when you're first learning the game, because it can be hard to decide who to prioritize. He's getting ready to block, but for how much? These two are going straight for damage, and the guy in the back is whipping up a special attack of something, we don't know what. 2 strike cards take out the weakest guy. 1 defend card guards against the other attack. Activate the Distilled Chaos Potion to play the top 3 cards on the deck and hope for the best. It plays Carnage, Whirlwind, and Defend. Carnage annihilates the blocking enemy. Whirlwind does nothing because it requires energy and we have none. Defend adds another 5 block to our character, which we didn't need. It was still a good potion though, since Carnage took someone out. The guy in the middle attacks us and we see our Bronze Scales relic working, cause he takes 3 damage from attacking us. Next turn, the Gremlin Wizard is still charging up something and it's probably really bad. We're also weak, so we're doing 25% less damage. Hit the Gremlin Wizard with a strike card and headbutt, taking him down to 10 HP and allowing us to call a card onto the top of our deck for the next hand. Do we go with Carnage for a guaranteed kill, or Whirlwind for the ability to hit both? We go Whirlwind. We're gonna try to take them both out next round. Set up a block and end turn. Whoa boy, look at that incoming attack. He's gotta go right now. I noticed that my plan to use Whirlwind to kill both is doomed to failure because I forgot about the weak debuff. The card is only doing 3 damage instead of 5. If I use it, I won't kill either of them. So I drop Carnage on the Gremlin Wizard, doing just enough damage at 15 and block the incoming attack of 4. He's dead the next round. Gonna grab a Clash card, which is a free 14 damage attack if you are only holding attack cards in your hand. So you've got cards in this game that can only be used under certain conditions. We get to open a treasure chest, which gives us a relic that grants 2 random skill upgrades, raising 2 of our defense cards to 8 block points. Then we hit our first campsite, where we could choose to rest, which heals our character, but we're gonna pick the Smith option to upgrade Carnage to 28 damage points. Yeah, we're feeling pretty strong. Let's take this deck into another elite fight. This guy is actually asleep for the first few turns, so we don't have to open the fight with this crappy hand. End turn and hope for better. This is an interesting hand. If we want to use the Clash card, we'd have to use the 2 defense cards, because remember, Clash is only usable when you're holding attack cards exclusively. Instead, we're going to set up Bash and establish 3 turns of Vulnerable, setting up more damage down the road. And we attack with Headbutt to call Dropkick into our next hand because he's vulnerable. Dropkick will be a free attack. Next turn, and there it is. Open with Dropkick and smack him with a Carnage card that, with Vulnerable applied, now does 42 damage. That's massive. It definitely won't kill, but it's going to do a lot of work for us. And we're going to get hit. He's coming at us with 18, and we can only guard for 5, so brace yourself for some damage. This is an excellent hand right here. Dropkick was shuffled back in and happened to pop up again. We take that free damage and draw a new card. Should have led with a Clash, but whatever. We have all attack cards, so we hit Clash, which does 21 points against a vulnerable enemy, and then just 2 strike cards take him down. That was pretty clean. And for our troubles, we get the Potion Belt Relic, expanding our potion slots to 5. Here we have some cards that I'm honestly not that interested in grabbing at this point. It's tempting to always pick something up, but here and there I like to skip. Generally though, I take a card and keep adding to the deck. Sometimes having a really big deck is the key to success in life. We find ourselves facing 2 enemies both hitting for 10 damage, so we're gonna get hurt no matter what. Flex up, bash the weakest guy, headbutt to call Bash back for the next hand, and we're gonna use our explosive potion to kill the first guy, protecting ourselves from his 10-point attack. Next turn, we fully block against his attack, and just give him a little tap with a strike card. Next turn, Carnage takes him out in 1 hit. God, Carnage is an awesome card. Last upgrade opportunity before the boss, and we're actually just gonna buff a defense card, because we're really lacking in our damage mitigation. Now, a 250 HP boss is sitting in front of us. I know that he likes multi-attacks, so we're gonna use our Thorn Potion that's gonna make us return 6 damage points every time we get attacked. And we're gonna apply the vulnerable potion to him so we can start doing heavy damage right away with these strike cards. See, his first attack is 5 damage 6 times. Yeah, we're gonna get hurt pretty bad. But not before we hit him with more strikes and a clash card. Block just a little bit and get his HP down to 171. Oof, God. Well, the good news is the Bronze Scale's return damage got him down to 135 HP. The bad news is we're pretty close to death and we can't survive another attack like that. And look at that, the perfect hand for this situation. Drop kick, Carnage for another 42 damage, and block, no damage taken. Excellent. Now what's that? He just put a card into our deck, a burn card. Whenever we pull it, it does 2 damage to us. We can't play it and we don't have any skill cards that can remove cards from our hand, so we're stuck with it. It's probably gonna mess up our clash card. Carnage gets pulled again, 28 damage, what luck. And we block for 8, almost entirely covering his attack of 10. Yeah, there it is, burn card in my hand, making Clash unplayable. Damn it. If he were attacking for massive damage here, we'd be dead. Thankfully, he's going easy on us this turn, so we can just flex up, bash to make him vulnerable for next round, and block. He should be dead next turn. Upon death, we get to choose a rare card. None of them are really applying to my build at the moment, but Limit Break is a great card to have in the future once you have cards that buff your strength. So we go with that. And then we get to choose a boss relic, many of which grant an extra energy point every turn, raising us to 4. There's a penalty to these, like no longer being able to heal at campsites, obtaining curse cards when opening chests, but having an extra energy point is a game changer. You can do so much more with your hand with 4 energy, and you're gonna need it going forward as the next maps contain some truly brutal fights. So we survived the first map, but what would have happened if we died? I stated in the beginning that this is a roguelike, so when you die, you lose your hand, your relics, your potions, and you start a new game. The more you play, the more cards and relics you'll unlock. And there's 4 total characters to unlock as well, each playing very differently from each other. Every time you play, you'll come across different cards, different relics, different map layouts, even different boss battles, some of which can be extremely difficult to win depending on the deck build you're going for. For example, the Silent has very powerful builds based on poison damage, some of the most insane damage in the game. She also has builds based on multi-card attacks, cards that spawn other cards, leading to a death by 1,000 cut strategy that's incredibly fun when you get the build right. But that build is completely countered by one of the final bosses, who has a 33% chance of showing up at the end. He ends your turn after every 12 cards you play, so you just can't get anything going against him. Another difficult boss encounter is the Awakened One versus the Defect character. The Defect is an insanely creative character that generates orbs that do different kinds of attacks, blocks, and abilities, and a lot of the fun of him is creating these giant powerful orb collections and devastating everyone on screen. One Defect build is based on power cards, using the card's creative AI, which adds a random power card into your hand every turn, and Storm, which summons a lightning orb every time you play a power card. These 2 cards work together so that you're using all these powers to buff your character while also calling a bunch of lightning orbs to damage opponents. It's great. But if you face the Awakened One as the final boss, he buffs himself every time you use a power card, so game over. Don't let that discourage you though. You can experiment a lot with this game, and as you get better and unlock more options, there are 20 difficulty levels for each character, implementing a staggering amount of gameplay modifiers. I have not gotten that far. The furthest I've gotten is level 11 for the first 3 characters. If you're wondering why you don't see those levels in my game, it's because when I changed PCs, I lost all my save data. It sucks. While I was editing, I realized that I forgot to mention the mod scene, an unforgivable error. Slay the Spire's mod scene is filled with loads of creative content. Original characters with their own unique sets of cards, custom relics, new enemy types. It's a rich world to dive into once you're ready, so make sure you check it out. Alright, let's wrap this up. Slay the Spire is a phenomenal game. It's definitely in the top 10 discussion for me. I want to say it's perfect. I can't think of anything I'd actually change. I guess I'd like some more music, and I'm sure there's gripes people have with it the more seriously they take the game, but that's gonna be any game. You just gotta play it, man. It's uniquely addicting, and that first time you kill a boss playing as the Ironclad, it's a real moment of celebration. You can pick up Slay the Spire on Steam, on PS4 and Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, it's on Mac. There's no reason not to give this game a try. Thanks for watching.